Well, my name's Pace Thompson. I'm a member at WUSC here in the University of University of South Carolina.
Yeah, I got
Uh,
you.
and when I heard that we were interviewing your band, Clap Your Hands, Say Yeah, I was really excited because I've been listening to the band for a while. My dad actually introduced me
Yeah,
to your
yeah.
music. So yeah, I mean, I was super excited, and I just really wanted the opportunity to talk to you.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm happy to talk, man. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. So I guess my first question for you is, how did everything start? Like, when did you know you wanted to pursue music?
Uh, I mean, like to pursue it in the way that I have, I don't think I ever really knew that. I wasn't really that wasn't really a goal of mine. Um, Mostly I was interested in creating music and I had been working on albums from the time I was like 18 or yeah, albums music from the time I was like 18 and I had a bunch of demos so I think I was like 24, 25 and I decided to see if I could form a band and it was pretty much I mean I had a little band in college but
Yeah,
we it was just kind of like here and there. But this was pretty much the first true band that I tried to form. I think the demos were strong, and we just put an album together, and it didn't take very long to get certain recognition. I mean, I would say we probably played around New York for a year and a half to 2 years before people started recognizing that we had anything, which is kind of normal. But
gotcha.
the idea of doing it internationally the way I have, it didn't really occur to me at the time. So, it was just a bit of a surprise to kind of like do it for a living.
Definitely. Who would
Yeah.
you say influences your band and music the most?
Oh, I don't really know. I mean, Brian Eno is a big influence for me,
Okay.
especially like those are older records, but, I mean, there are some newer, like some of the people that I work with, like Dave Fridman has done a few records, and he works with like the Flaming Lips and MGMT and Tame Impala and got people like that, like in that kind of community. Also, Will Johnson down in Texas. I don't know. I mean, like there are a lot of people. It's like too many to list, and really no kind of like scale either. I mean, certain
Right.
people influence me for different reasons. So
Well, cool.
yeah.
If things didn't take off for you and you were not pursuing music, what do you think you'd be doing right now?
I don't know. I mean, I studied urban planning after college. I studied
Oh,
medical anthropology in college, so that kind of
wow.
like lined me up to do anything besides. Well, no, it lined me up to be a musician basically, or work at a cafe. But I studied urban planning a little bit after, and I was considering doing that, something in urban planning and landscape architecture potentially. So maybe that, but I have a feeling that something, yeah, in a sort of creative realm would have appealed to me probably.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, okay. I know you were talking a little bit about playing in New York, and like the live music aspect of being in a band. What concert or festival would you say was your all-time favorite?
Uh, well, I mean, one of the favorite memories that I have of playing a festival was something called the Harvest Festival in Australia. And
Okay.
it was one of those, I did another, maybe a couple others in Australia where it was like everybody moved around together. And, uh, and I happen to know a lot of the people there. So it's like the festivals were always fun because like your friends would be there, that
Right.
you made over the years. So like there's a band called Mogwai who was there and I'm friends with those guys and the Walkmen and the National. And, anyway, it was just nice to see people. I don't know if it was the same one, but like Broken Social Scene and Feist, but these people are all like, you invite them on stage, they invite you on stage, it's things like this. So it always seemed to happen in Australia. But those were always fun. I mean, I've also played Fuji Rock Festival in Japan a couple of times, and that's always
Wow,
great because the
that must have
audience
been
are,
crazy.
yeah, the audiences are amazing. Uh, but yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, there are a lot, but mostly, um, probably not the name brand festival. Although I guess Fuji Rock is pretty name brand. I don't know. It just like if I see friends of mine who are at these festivals, it's kind of cool. Like I don't know them, but in South Carolina, the Sun Ra Orchestra, who are from Philadelphia,
Hmm.
are to be playing at this festival, and I've seen them a few times, and that's interesting to me. So yeah, I don't
Cool.
know.
Do you have
Yeah.
any crazy memories or things that have happened to you while you've been on stage?
While I've been on stage, you mean like just generally? I mean, or at a festival in particular? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, like in a
I
festival.
mean, beyond the normal, like people coming up and grabbing you while you're playing guitar or something like that.
Wow.
Oh, sure, that sort of thing happens from time to time, but that's not that crazy, I guess. I don't know. We have this song called Satan Said Dance, and
Yep.
when we were in Australia, it was nice to get my friends from Toronto and Broken Social Scene to play with us, and it's a big band if you know them. There's a lot of people.
Hmm.
So Satan Said Dance would just become this like cacophony. There was one guy actually, Spiral Stairs, a guitarist for Pavement. He was there too, so we got them all on stage, and it was fun, but it was a true mess.
Was it?
And in my recollection, it sounded like, from what I recall, um, things were just a total blur on stage. But it was great. I mean, it's fun when everything's just like a scattered mess sometimes on stage, and
Yeah.
people arrive at a certain point, and you don't know how you got there, and everybody can kind of laugh at the end of it.
Right, right.
Yeah, I don't know, stuff, little things like that. I remember playing in Ireland, and after the Beastie Boys, that was cool. So, I mean, to me, playing near people I find to be like my heroes, that's always, great. So
Right.
things like
Is
that.
there a venue you still want to perform at that you haven't performed at yet, or is there a certain
Uh,
concert or festival?
I always had wanted to play Pappy and Harriet's in Joshua Tree, California, but we just did that a few months ago. So uh,
Congratulations.
now I can die in peace.
Right.
No, I mean, is there any specific venue that I've wanted to play? Oh yeah, there is one. It's which I've talked to my friend about playing, but there are these caves off the coast of Spain, in a place called Lanzarote, and we played a festival in Lanzarote about 4 years
Inside the
ago.
cave?
No,
Or
no, no, this wasn't inside the case, but he suggested that I could potentially come back and play like a smaller show inside the cave. So I think that would be something.
that'd be cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so that would be fun. Yeah, stuff like that I like to do, like in unusual places. So
So you'd say you're pretty well versed in traveling. You've been around
yeah,
for music.
I'd say so.
Have you pursued any other artistic interests while you've been traveling or
No, I mean I've started writing a little bit more again, but mostly just kind of like I wouldn't say memoir particularly, but like things just to keep track of what's been going on in my life, um, that other people might find interesting, um, and I might find interesting as I get older. I don't know if that's like truly creative. It's more of a documentation. But no, it's really been more music than anything else. Sometimes I do little bits and pieces of design work and stuff like that, but I'm generally a little overwhelmed with the music stuff, you know. So I'm trying to look into doing a little bit more in the way of film work, but it's always music centered. So
okay.
yeah.
You brought up a good point. You just said you felt a little overwhelmed with music. And I feel like performers or musicians, while you're on stage, I know that can be very overwhelming. Do you have a preference when you're playing live, or would you rather be like at your house or
Oh,
like a studio?
I mean, it's a completely different feeling. I think when I started off, I was hoping that it could just be in the studio, like I could just create and that, that would be enough. And so I reluctantly played live, I think for the first 3 or 4 years probably,
Hmm.
until it clicked that I should be a little bit happier about the opportunities that I've been given.
Yeah.
Now, which was stupid. It was a bit of a delayed reaction to it. Um, and now I think they're neck and neck. I mean, like I love playing live in front of people who either understand what I'm trying to do or want to, and just it's very encouraging to see that sense of community, especially really coming off of the pandemic a little bit. I mean, it's not exactly over, but
Mhm.
and people can kind of come back and be with other people. Like it's really cool to have that sense of community now. It's pretty necessary, I think.
How would you say the pandemic affected your music? Would you say you were putting out more songs, or were
Well,
you
I would
taking more of a
say
break?
no. I mean, I haven't been putting out more, but I've been plenty creative in my little project studio. But I've also had to do a lot of or I had to. I've done a lot of live stream shows, partly just to communicate with anyone. And partly what I had to do, or what I decided to do, was to change all my songs so I could play them on keyboard, which was
Hmm.
my first instrument. So that was a nice exercise, and it gives a whole new kind of take. So I've been working lately on sort of reworking old material so it can be usable in like other forms, like with string quartets or with I might work with this orchestra in Belgium soon and things like this. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, like it's nice to just see all sides, and I think that's what the pandemic made me do finally, was to communicate in different ways.
Hmm.
But I probably don't know exactly how it's changed everything until I really get back into the studio. Yeah.
Right. So have you not been in the studio in a while? Or?
I mean, just project studio. I think 95% of it is like pre-production. And
Okay.
you get into the studio, and you get in the studio for finally all records probably take definitely less than a month, whereas pre-production I think can take more than a year. So yeah.
Hmm. When do you know when a song is done? Is there like a certain point you reach when you're
Uh,
making a song, or
I think the idea of feeling like a song is done is, I mean, like the first album, which we're best known for, I feel
right?
like I was like 60% happy with it, maybe, So the
Really?
idea of being, yeah, I don't even know if that, I would say maybe 60%. I know I didn't really want to release it because I had the impression that you're supposed to be completely happy and that the final product is supposed to be perfect to you. But I realized over time that the best you can do is get as close as you have it in your head, but finally to get it actually, you have to embrace the faults in what you do. Sometimes, if you're really detailed, which I tend to be.
Gotcha.
Um, but I would say it's done if you feel like you got a good performance out of everyone, and there's a certain energy even underneath the kind of quieter songs. So
Okay. Well, especially, I mean, that album came out in 2005, I believe, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, especially for that time, I mean, I feel like it was way ahead of just everything else. And I can definitely hear that attention to detail that you were talking about.
Yeah,
Um,
picky back then. I'm a little less. I don't think I mean, I'm picky, but it's a little different because I realize working with Dave Fridman, the guy I mentioned,
hmm,
that there are certain aspects of recording where you really want to. I mean, you want to be detailed, of course, but you want to focus on the right things. And I think in the first album, I was doing that, but it was really kind of like the broad strokes approach makes a little more sense when you're really trying to finalize something like that. I mean, to really concentrate, I would have these weird notes where it would be like 1.5% up on the tambourine or something like that, and
yeah.
things that really didn't even mean anything. And looking back, it's kind of amusing. But not that the first album, I had an understanding of what I wanted, but yeah, I mean, and I think you have to kind of resort or resign yourself to doing the best you can, and then and just kind of running with it. I
Just
think.
making do.
Yeah, kind of making do, but if you really know you don't have anything, then you have to know when to throw it away too. So
Right. How would you say your music has developed from 2005 to now?
I would say the songs are much probably much more nuanced and kind of pretty much more evolved. The first album was fun and energetic and all of that, but I think the songs have developed to a large degree, and I definitely can do a lot more than I did back then. Uh, so I mean, it's not that I'm not proud. I mean, when I play some of the songs from that album, I'm not like, oh God, here we go again at all. Because I actually am lucky enough to still believe in the old material too.
Hmm.
Uh, I think that things are a little bit more um, uh, um, studied and kind of like uh, I don't know. I don't want to say better, but a little more interesting to me anyway. After having done it for a little while, so
Okay.
yeah.
Um, Another thing, I've noticed that obviously a lot of artists now are creating covers of popular songs. Is there any song that you've explored maybe creating and adding your own touches to?
Yeah. Yeah, there's some songs. It's funny you mentioned that because I just had a few, but I don't know how popular they really are. Uh, they're well, the unpopular. I mean, the ones that are a little less popular are like there's a Mayo Thompson song called "Dear Betty Baby" that I was gonna work on, and then there are a couple Towns Van Sant songs, and then John Cale. But of the more popular ones, oh, I was toying with Frank Ocean's "Lost" from Channel Orange, which I
Really?
played, yeah, in a very quiet way on piano, which is kind of fun. I like that song. I was messing around with a Beck song a little bit ago, but and I have no intentions of actually recording it.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I didn't realize that that was kind of a wave, but I think beyond Frank Ocean, that album really kind of got me. Um, I thought that was really well done and kind of loose in a good way. And he's a killer singer too.
Definitely.
So yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I don't know how popular the stuff I would do is, but I mean, if I did like a bunch of covers, it would probably shine a light on music that a lot of people don't know that well. So
Well, I mean, that's a great way to open people's
yeah,
uh, musical, I guess, knowledge to
yeah, absolutely.
learn new songs. I would say
Yeah.
being in the radio station here has definitely opened my or changed my perspective when it comes
Oh
to
yeah. I'm
uh,
sure. I mean, I like Cat Power did a bunch of cover albums, and she was doing songs that are pretty like some standards, like "Sea of Love," for example. And I mean, I remember I was talking to a friend of mine about, uh, well, my girlfriend, about how she didn't quite know that that was an original. She didn't know if it was an original or a cover. And to me, just that alone is helpful. So it's the sort of education of it, you know.
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I know a lot of younger musicians are also exploring this route of covering music. What advice would you have for young musicians looking to create a name for themselves in this day and age?
I think honestly, yeah, covering stuff like trying to know the ins and outs of some of the old bands. I mean, a lot of like the foundation is kind of there. Listen to, I mean, I don't know, go over an entire Roxy Music album and figure out why they structured things the way they did, or REM or something like this, like
Mm,
the Smiths. I mean, I'm talking about like albums that are really, to me, like interesting in a way where you can keep digging and digging. This is one of the reasons why everybody loves the Beatles. It's not just the melodies, but you play those songs and you keep digging and digging, and it's like, okay, you can peel off layer after layer. Whereas like a lot of stuff that I hear is kind of one dimensional, but I mean to go into in great detail to certain albums will just help you come out a better songwriter, you know.
hmm.
So
Well, cool.
that instinct is not a good thing.
Yeah,
But it's like anything. It's like if you're an athlete or whatever. I used to play. I used to be a decent soccer player, and you practice, 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 and you learn all the ins and outs of the game to set yourself up to have the instinct to react to any situation. It's a similar type of thing.